Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that.
The main people pushing the Trump-Hitler narrative, I would say, are Morning Joe, weren't they? They were very committed to that idea. And if you actually believe that someone is a genocidal despot who will wage war across the world, then the last thing you want to do is cozy up to them at their golf course. But Morning Joe have done exactly that, leading us, I would say, to the almost immediate conclusion that they never thought that Donald Trump was like Hitler. They just thought, what can we say that's an effective campaigning tool when the political institutions we support are not significantly serving the ordinary people of America and are owned by corporate interests, most terrifyingly the military-industrial complex, which requires perpetual war in order to operate. The only way we can justify supporting a Democratic Party that sits at the apex, or at least administrates on behalf of those at the apex of such systems, is by claiming that their opponent is worse. So much worse, in fact, that they are the equivalent of the worst person that ever lived, and that's Hitler. Well, we're going to have coffee with Hitler at Mar-a-Lago.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that.
What? It's almost as if all you care about is ratings. Do you not just care about anything other than ratings? Do you know what rates well? Hitler. So should we have golf with Hitler? Because people watch that stuff, it turns out.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump.
She does look a bit forlorn, though, Micah. I met her before. I went on that TV program, Morning Joe, and I went there in good faith with an open heart, but it turned out that what I experienced there was somewhat indicative of what throbs at the essence of that little institution, a kind of a piety and spirit of condemnation, a kind of certainty in yourself and your own judgments and opinions. It doesn't surprise me that they would go right out on a limb and say, you know, Donald Trump, he's all right. He's like, I don't know, maybe he's a bit of a tycoon and a reality TV star that has an easy touch, common touch when talking with and dealing with normal people. You know, but we prefer the Democratic Party for these reasons, because of these policies, because that wasn't an argument that was available. They really went hard on the Hitler thing. And now they're in the ludicrous position of saying, you know how we said that guy was Hitler? Well, we've gone and met with him. Look at Micah there. She looks slightly pale. She has the pallor of a veal calf, seeing its first morn, only to discover it's the very day that it will be slaughtered for some dinner.
It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents.
Now, I know this might look like I'm a hypocrite, having spent the last 4 years telling you, for example, that he was a Nazi and a bastard and a son of a bitch and an asshole, while describing Joe Biden as sharp as a tack, as a brilliant maverick at the top of his game. I've never known him so sharp, when it's quite clear when you watch Joe Biden wandering off into the Amazon, burbling and blubbering about nothing in particular, that I must live in some delirious state, continually saying whatever's necessary in order to make my payments and to make it to sleep at night. But nevertheless, what I've just done now is gone to Mar-a-Lago at the behest of President-elect Donald Trump in a desperate bid to not have this show canceled, seeing how legacy media figures across the board are being slashed into the irrelevancy that they deserve. We thought, okay, in one last desperate roll of the dice, we're going to Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to surprise you. I like Donald Trump.
And media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues.
Oh, they're not going to see eye to eye. Oh, Donald Trump and Joe Scarborough. This is the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul bout we all wanted. No, what comes as a surprise to us is the breathtaking hypocrisy of anyone, of any institution, broadcaster, or a human being that would claim for years that Donald Trump was beyond the pale of political conversation, beyond consideration, even in a democracy as a potential president, to hear that within weeks of him winning an election, that you're in his garden, woo, cooing up at the balcony in a desperate attempt to remain on the television. That's what comes as a surprise.
And we told him so.
I mean, you'll get no lick, spittle, shoe shine, boy, from me. I'll kowtow to no one in my desperate attempts to remain on the television. Is this being streamed? Is this being broadcast? I'm still on the television, ain't I?
What we did agree on was to restart communications.
We thought, it's all like the haughtiness and the sort of sense that what they're doing is important. This is so important. I, a person with genitals that will die one day, have gone to a golf course to meet a president who simply, as has been pretty resoundingly proven, doesn't need my approval.
My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed.
Yeah, I remember that's how you covered when Tucker went to meet Putin, right? That's what you said. You were like, my father often met with world leaders with whom he profoundly disagreed. Oh, no, you didn't, did you? You said, Tucker shouldn't be in there. Putin's a murderer. Putin's a war criminal. This is a desperate attempt to reframe a reality that no longer needs them.
That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call.
Looking up to the left, it must have been March. Spring was in the air, and I knew that we were in Nuremberg, actually, and the sound of jackboots pounding on the sidewalk was all we could hear as we met with him under a red, white, and black swirl of swastikas. I remember thinking, what's this guy planning?
Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I did. I mean, I've always believed some things are transcendent of politics. Firstly, when there's an assassination attempt, and secondly, my hair gel.
In this meeting, President Trump was tearful. He was upbeat. He was
tearful. He was vulnerable. He was weak. He was licking up the remnants of a Big Mac from his own legs. I remember thinking, I'm better than you. I'm better than everyone.
Interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues.
The conversation that took place before this was streamed, broadcast, whatever they call it these days, was this. Oh no, what are we going to do? We've spent the last 4 years, 8 years, however long it's been, saying that Trump is Hitler. Now we're going to have to go and meet him because we no longer have a centrifugal and dominant position in the media landscape. We are peripheral and could be about to fall over that periphery into the abyss. Well, what if we sort of say we were on the phone with him after Butler, Pennsylvania? What if I say my dad spent hours on the phone to Stalin? He brushed his mustache. He combed his mustache with a knit comb.
And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask...
It's not like you're on a pairing with Trump and the forthcoming Trump administration. We don't need an answer to that question. We know what the answer is. It's a desperate attempt to avoid obsolescence.
Back. Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we? The show could get cancelled. You're saying now what you should have been saying during the entire campaign.
5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different.
Something different would be some humility and some transparency. The war against free speech is in full swing. We are the vanguard, bravely fighting back. Rumble's the home of this channel, Stay Free, and a leader in defending the fundamental human right of free speech. They've joined X to sue a cartel of advertisers and ad agencies who conspire to block ad revenue from going to the platforms. Recently, they've launched Rumble Premium This, I think, is going to be a game changer for all of us. It's an ad-free viewing experience with great perks for viewers and creators. Rumble Premium will give you the ability to dive into your favorite content on your mobile or desktop or smart TV and savor every uninterrupted second of my content. Why don't you upgrade to Rumble Premium today? Support my free speech and the free speech of other content creators on this platform. Please go to Rumble now, rumble.com/premium. And if you use the code BRAND, you'll save $10 and Rumble will be aware that our stream is creating great converts. So that's rumble.com/premium and do use the code BRAND to save $10. Anyway, there's a link there at the bottom of the screen now. We're posting it in the chat. Join up. All right, here's the View angry.
Look, the bottom line is that America needs a free press that is willing to speak truth to power.
Speaking truth was never the objective. Speaking hysterically has always been the objective. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. They had to come up with a way of condemning Donald Trump. And now that it's been proven that that was all hysteria, hyperbole and madness, it was completely ineffective. Most people, literally most people, didn't buy into it and believe it. They've got to talk to their remaining audience who are like, what? So you're going to have him on your shows and your channels if you want to survive. Yeah, that's right, because we're a business. We're a business, and we're in the business of taking adverts. We're in the business of being owned by a massive conglomeration. We're in the business of doing what we're told. So now we're going to have to contort ourselves into some new shape that makes sense of a reality where we're going to cling on to our shows for as long as possible before hopefully fading into some delicious obscurity.
Right now, more than ever. And I think that we have to be very clear-eyed when we think about the president-elect and cover the president-elect. And I don't think you need to sit down for 90 minutes at Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring to be able to speak truth and to be able to cover a story. So maybe they're not journalists in the true sense. Maybe they're saying that they're opinion journalists. But we have to remember that Trump is the guy who ushered in the era of fake news.
He didn't usher in the era of fake news. He pointed out that a lot of news was unreliable and fake. And the reason that maxim has stuck and entered into common parlance, a delicious neologism that it is because we all recognized it to be true. So then they had to create the categories of misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation to keep up with and to sort of make sound more academic and more realistic. The idea that there's certain types of information you can trust and certain types of information you can't trust, and their preference would be that you trust information that's coming from them and supports their agenda.
He is the guy who ushered in alternative facts. He is the guy who attacked 3 black female journalists. He's the guy that revoked Jim Acosta's press credentials for asking him a question. And so I think that this president-elect, I hate to say it, would like nothing more than to have only Fox News cover him, would like nothing more than a state-sponsored media. And I don't think he can be trusted in the way that other presidents can be trusted. This is an aberration.
I don't think he cares, actually. And I think the part of the problem was the preceding globalist bureaucracy masquerading under the thin veneer of social justice ideas that are easy to talk about, difficult to execute, and useful for distracting us from widespread corruption and affiliation with powerful globalist corporate entities. They were the people that were trying to have total control over the media. They were the people that were paying millions of dollars for celebrity endorsements. They were the people that participated in the mass censorship of true stories during the pandemic period. They're the people that have just sanctioned missiles being used inside of Russia by Ukraine that certainly exacerbates an already fragile geopolitical situation. Donald Trump isn't the problem. Donald Trump is, even if you want to take the meanest possible analysis, is a symptom of problems that they have created, and people that are optimistic believe that he's the solution. Plainly, that's why he's been elected with such a powerful mandate. And note above all else how seriously these people take themselves and their opinions. The View is meant to be a light-hearted daytime show. I don't know how everything got so overtly and ludicrously politicized. Morning Joe, they've named it after like coffee, right? Here's your Morning Joe. It's part of your day. Imagine if when you took your cup of coffee, it started telling you it's better than you, and you aren't in a position to recognize whether something's true or false and whether or not someone's Hitler or not, and why they're now friends with Hitler and cozying up on the golf club, and then claiming it's out of journalistic integrity. The View is meant to be breezy. Hey, are you at home in the daytime with your kids or for some other reason? Well, why don't you flick this on and listen to us discuss sort of banality quite lightly? When did everyone start getting the idea that they had such fundamental offerings conjured up out of the dead culture that they're trying to defibrillate into meaningfulness when it's been completely designed to fulfill the opposite of meaning, to create environments where it's impossible to locate meaning other than through the pursuit of pleasure, identification with dumb products? Their dumb little world just got the shock it deserved. They're waking up as a result of that shock and trying to sort of desperately reframe what happened last night like a drunk. Oh, sorry, well, what it was is there vomit on the bedspread? Is there blood on my socks? Well, what happened was I was trying to protect you from Hitler. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat? If you're watching this on YouTube, even now as part of the live stream or later as part of a clip from our Rumble stream, remember to turn on the subscriptions and to subscribe, and then to turn on the notification bell so that you know when we make this content.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.